Welcome, everyone. It's the Transform Your Relationship Show. I'm Laura Rubinstein, here with Dr. Rhoberta Shaler. Hi, Rhoberta.
Hello, Laura. Welcome to another edition. We've been a little quiet for the last month, so it's good to be back.
Yeah, we've had holidays and travel, and but no shortage of relationship topics to find. So
Never.
it will be dynamic. Always a dynamic conversation. So we've got a great topic in store. I loved when we were talking yesterday what we came up with, and creating peace within and without. So many of us are talking about we want a peaceful world. Well, I think it starts right here at home within. Would you agree?
Absolutely. It can't start anywhere else. And you can go to as many peace rallies as you like. If you're still yelling at the driver in front of you, you've got work to do.
There's something not peaceful about that, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, if you just think about your thoughts, you just think about how you're responding to people or the chatter in your mind when you walk through the mall. Right? Is it positive and uplifting? Is it peaceful, or is it judgment, criticize, judgment, right?
Mm-hmm.
You really can't have peace in your world if it isn't in your head, and it's not something that you can apply from the outside.
Say more about that. I don't think, like, some people just aren't thinking about that. And sometimes I think, what do you mean? Like, okay, you can't have peace outside if you're not peaceful inside. Isn't it the other way around? Wouldn't some people say, like, if it's peaceful outside, I can be peaceful inside?
That would be really, really nice if you could just shift that blame to everything that's outside of yourself and say, well, it's your fault I'm not peaceful. And there's a lot of people who do that. If it wasn't for you, I'd have a great life or a peaceful life, or I wouldn't have these problems. Well, guess what, honey? It's up to you. And the same thing is true about peace. If you want to have peace, you have to be peace. And
I'm having that song, that Michael Jackson song in my head. If you want to see the world a different place, be the change you want to see, that kind of thing. The Mahatma Gandhi quote and the Michael Jackson song are kind of merging in my head right now.
Well, it's a great combination. I can't imagine Gandhi dancing, but it's
why not, right?
Yeah. But I think it's true. I've been working with people for 40 years on the idea of finding peace within themselves, peace in their relationship with themselves, so that they can have peace in their relationship with other people or peace in their home. And yeah, we would really like it if it was a cream you could go and buy at the drugstore, but it isn't. It's an inside job. And one of the things that causes us not to be peaceful is our reluctance to spend time with ourselves. We distract ourselves. I've got to go here. I've got to get this done. This has got to happen. I've got to make plans. I've got to meet folks. And we don't take the time for that quiet reflection to be with ourselves. I know some people that I've worked with tell me that, they're kind of afraid of that. Like, a little afraid of who they'll find if they sit with themselves in the silence. And I understand that. It can be a little bit scary, like when there's just me and no distractions, just me. Is that enough? And what'll I find? But I highly recommend that you take the time. And I'm not a believer, and you know this, Laura, because we've talked about it before. I'm not a believer in that you've got to sit for an hour and you've got to do all these things. No, you just have to sit long enough to feel the connection. You can sit longer if you like, but feel the connection to the quiet, to yourself, to something larger than yourself, that constant invisible that's around us, whether it's nature or whatever you want to call it, God, spirit, whatever. But when you go within is the only time that you can possibly know what's going on. And we think, go and talk to your friends about it all. yeah, that'll help some, but it won't help you know yourself. It'll give you some clues, but you have to sit in the quiet. So there's the very long answer to that from my not so humble opinion.
Well, I think it's important what you're saying, and what you've done today, which we haven't really gotten into before, is what does it mean to sit with yourself and go within? What does it look like? What does it feel like? It might feel scary at first. It might feel like you're not connected at first. It might feel like you wonder if you're doing it right. But what I got out of what you just said is wait.
Mm-hmm.
Be with all of it.
Yeah, you can't do it wrong. You can do it. You know, when Charles and I wrote Soul Solitude, Taking Time for Our Souls to Catch Up, I sent it to my daughter, and she's a proofreader. So I sent it to her, and, you know, I've written a lot of books, so I usually get feedback right away. Nothing, just nothing. So I called her after 4 days, and I said, well, what's up with the book? Do you like it? Don't you like it? She said, I'm angry. I said, why? She said, page 111. All right, so I looked at page 111, and it says, there is no drama in soul solitude. Simply sit, fall silent, and listen. And she said, I said, why are you angry about that? She said, you blew my cover. I thought I had to learn some skills, and I hadn't got around to it yet. And, you know, that there was nothing in the way of me just sitting, and that made me angry. And I think that's the case, you know, when there's nothing to procrastinate, there's no skill to learn. It doesn't matter, you know, if sitting quietly, I mean, if you want to call it meditation, you want to call it whatever you want to call it, I don't care. I just call it sitting in the silence. And if you just sit in the silence, it doesn't matter if you have a candle or you have music or you don't or you do or you're cross-legged or your hands are in a mudra or your hands are in your lap, your eyes are crossed, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's your willingness to sit in the silence with yourself and listen.
Why is that so magical? It sounds like it has the potential for a lot, but it's doing nothing that has the possibility of so much. Let's demystify that.
Well, that's a very deep question. You know, first of all, at a minimum, you're going to learn something about yourself. So say you don't have any spiritual beliefs, you don't think there's anything larger than you and all of that. You're going to sit and you're going to quietly just recognize it. The world didn't fall apart when I stopped moving.
What a concept.
Yeah. Like I actually matter, and I can demonstrate to myself that I matter by taking some time to just be by myself without the distraction of a book or an iPad or anything. Just me alone. Now, you say to demystify. Well, the mystery is that things happen when you're willing. And when you're willing to just sit, you'll be surprised. Repeat it a few times. You know, just sit for 5 minutes, sit for 2 minutes, and just look for that connection with that silence. You know, I have a particular spiritual belief system, but I call it knowing that God is on the field. That's what I connect with, is just being quiet and coming to that place of, oh, there you are. Okay, we're connected. And now I can go on. And I do that several times a day. It's no big deal. Like, it's not a big thing to do. You don't have to be anywhere. You don't have to have any equipment. You can do it in your car. You can do it on a bus. You can do it sitting in a park. You can do it sitting at your desk. So I think that we've got it all hooked into esoteric, spiritual things, and they have rules, and they have ways you're supposed to and things you're not supposed to do. You know, remember, people made that all up. How about just sitting quietly and connecting?
Yeah, They is always a powerful force in our lives if we're like, well, that's not what I'm supposed to do, or I have to do that. If you find yourself saying those things, somebody else out there is saying this, and who is they? Anyway, um, I like taking to heart what you said. Just take those 5 minutes and connect. It makes me think of, some people might call that prayer.
Sure. Sure. And if you happen to be a Christian, the Bible tells you to pray without ceasing. So imagine keeping that connection going all the time, and then coming back and reestablishing it, or recognizing it's still there, and then proceeding. It's a very, very powerful way to live your life.
So try it. Because, and what are we talking about today? How are we connecting this to peace? When you get more tapped in, you're connected not only to yourself, but you said to knowing that other forces are at play here, working on your behalf and working on, the goal of peace here. You said something very, very important about willingness. To me, being willing, like you said, things happen.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like putting your foot on the gas versus the brake.
Perfect.
Because
Yes.
I think that when I think to myself, I can't do this, or I don't know how, or it's just so hard. When you have those kind of thoughts, those are the brake kind of thoughts. But then I said, well, what if I'm willing to have more peace in my life? And I'm willing to try sitting with myself, and I'm willing to connect to a greater presence. Wow, now your brain can do something with it. You don't put the energetic brake on, you put the energetic gas on.
Well, I'm sure you know that from all your psychotherapy or your hypnotherapy work, because
Absolutely.
what are you doing? You're asking someone to go within, and you're asking them to reconstruct a possibility, right?
It's so powerful.
Yes. And we have that ability to do that right this second. If there's something not working, reconstruct a possibility. What if it went like this? One of the things that I've told so many people to do in the last way too many years, or joyously many years, is that it's important to catch yourself before you go in a downward spiral on a thought or feeling. Catch yourself before you start going, ain't it awful, and he done me wrong, and insert the idea, for what might this be good? If you can just capture yourself in that moment and take yourself to the for what might this be good place, it changes everything.
Talking about some very powerful hypnosis principles. So go on. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it's all one. We're all one. The name that I like for God is the infinite invisible, so that it doesn't have any connotations of anything. It is just that infinite invisible presence, as you said, or possibility, but it's something larger than yourself. So I just wanted to put that word out, those two words out there for it, because it is that something larger than yourself that you can connect with. I mean, I don't think there's anybody who would refute the fact that energy exists, right?
Right. We know right. Equals MC squared, that's for sure.
Yeah, so maybe the infinite invisible is an energy source for you. It's not something that you have to get all woo-woo and strange about. It is just something larger than yourself. And it's tied to, the idea of peace is tied to our ideas of mercy, our ideas of faith, our ideas of hope. And it's really worth thinking it through. In fact, go sit in the silence and think about what you think about that.
And I would even invite people to not only think about it, but feel about it.
Yeah.
So what am I feeling? I find in my most quiet times, I'm asking myself questions that are not always the prettiest, like, why did I have a sleepless night about something? Or why why is it so important to me to hold on to this or let go, or how come I can't let go of that? Like, ask tough questions that you wouldn't otherwise consider. And I love the topics here because we're talking about, you mentioned hypnosis and hypnotherapy. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Meaning, if you have a hypnotherapist or a guide, then you are being given suggestions. Your subconscious mind and conscious mind get to say whether you accept that suggestion or not. Then you reinforce it to yourself. The only reason to go back to a hypnotherapist is to help practice thinking in that gas pedal way, right? Because we're so practiced at the brake. There's so much fear going on. Sometimes we just don't know how to think ourselves into the brake, the gas. We're just really good at the brake. And kudos for that, because that will serve you in times when you're in physical danger, especially, and you'll just like, oh my gosh, I've got to run away, or that's fine. But when you're not in physical danger, sometimes we need some help getting out of that thinking habit into a more willing state. And a first step to try is it on your own, for sure, in this meditative, quiet space of just taking the time to, oh gosh, feel those feelings. They're going to transform if you actually feel them.
Yeah.
That's what I found has been really profound, is like, okay, I'm going into this fear. What is its message for me? I love the what might this be good? It's like, for what might this be good? There's something rich and juicy and delicious and informative and transformative for you if you sit in this quiet space. So I think I'm going to go. See you. I got to go, man. I got to go meditate.
It's compelling, isn't it? And, I would throw into the brake and the gas metaphor another thing. Is your focus on the windscreen, the windshield, or is your focus in the rearview mirror? That's a question you have to ask yourself, because there's a lot of people who are coming from that fear that you spoke of who have their eyes firmly planted on the rearview mirror.
Right. It's like, what's behind me? What's coming up on me? Yep.
But just have a little thought about the relative size of the windshield and the rearview mirror. Right? If you recognize how large what's in front of you is right this minute and the future, and how small those things are disappearing in the background as you move forward, then it would be really unwise to spend a lot of time looking in the rearview mirror. It's for taking a quick check to remember, oh, I've been there. Mm-hmm. It's not directional. You can't go into the rearview mirror when you're moving forward. But you can sit still and be totally stuck by not knowing where to look. And that pull to look in the rearview mirror can often be very strong because of your fear. And you have the opportunity of choosing what you're going to do. You're going to have the rearview mirror and the brake, or you're going to have the windshield and the gas. And when you sit quietly, you find out what's right for you, not what all those other people have told you, or the expectations of other people, or the drama of other people, or any of that. You get in touch with you. And that's where peace begins, because you have the opportunity of a lifetime. You get to choose what you use it for every minute. But if it's being bombarded with other people's information that they've shared with you or insisted you take on or whatever, now is the time to sit quietly with yourself and say, well, for instance, here's a good question. What's my number one value that I live by? Think about that for a few minutes in the quiet. Is it love? Is it peace? Is it family? Is it money? I mean, what do I value the most? What would I never want to be without? And I don't mean a physical object. I mean a quality. Just get in touch with things like that. That's how you find peace. Because when you know what your values are, then you will demonstrate them every day. You will live in alignment with them, and you'll find peace.
Okay, everybody take a deep breath in, because that even in that moment, absorbing what you said, Roberta, is very healing and very inspiring for us to go and not do but be. I think that's what we're talking about, being.
Yeah.
Having peace is a state of being, one person being with themselves at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's profound. It's not hard. It's not easy. It is. It just is something that one can put in place to do. And if we find that within, imagine the world, one, if everybody's kind of taken that time to do that, there's less of this because we're not taking those anxieties and just trying to get rid of them. We're actually letting them transform within.
Yes. Yes. And you're right. I mean, if each person took that time to get connected in that peaceful way, to the really deep knowing way, it won't help you a darn bit to sit there and add up the ain't it awfuls. You know? Remember that you're sitting there in order to find peace and to find connection with your highest self. And that's the purpose of it, not to cogitate on what's wrong with the world and get up and be a troll on Facebook, you know. But that's what's there for you. That's what's possible for you. So if you understand that, then giving it a go, and if everybody gave it a go, we would have a world that people are more knowledgeable about who they are and what they value, and the world that they're endeavoring to create, and they would be more likely to demonstrate those values, and therefore they would have a better day. Everybody around them would have a better day. And it's contagious. When you're peaceful, other people go, oh, you're so peaceful. And you can see them calm down. You can see them come into that space of possibility, like, oh, that feels good. Because you're not carrying that angst and that hustle and bustle and anxiety all the time, because you can be fully present right here, right now. You know, we will never have July 11th from 11 to 11:40 a.m. Pacific time again in our lives. So you and I are here, we're fully present. I don't think either one of us is making a grocery list or deciding who we want to write an email to or whatever. We're fully here.
Well, now that you say that.
But that's the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
To be fully here, to be fully in this conversation, to, you know, Ram Dass said, be here now. And Eckhart Tolle writes a lot about the now. But that's the only time there is. And if we're in that rearview mirror place, or we're in the what's going to happen to me place, we're not here, right? Mm-hmm. So let's practice being here now, so we can take the better now, the peace of now, into the next now, and then it will become a way of living. And when we do that, we have peace that we can share, and we can sow peace.
We can sow peace. Or plant the seeds of peace.
Plant the seeds. Plant the seeds of peace.
Plant it. I had this image of piecing it forward. Piece it forward. Uh-huh. So that's what I have an image of when you said, you know, if someone says to you, you seem so peaceful, or you're just being that peaceful presence, it's like all of a sudden they shift into it.
Yeah. But if when they recognize it, that's something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a start.
It seems like a lofty goal to say we can create world peace by doing this. I mean, you think of people who would not even know anybody, maybe, who would be peaceful or encourage the sitting with yourself. You think of people who are just so crazy, not crazy like diagnosis crazy, but like they've got busyness going on in their mind that can't even be calmed. How can we believe that world peace is possible with just this simple practice?
Whoa, big question. You can believe anything you want, so you know that. You can
Right.
believe your neighbor's out to get you. You can believe whatever you want. But it starts with believing that it's possible, and then starts with then believing that it has to start with me. Now, I think, sure, world peace is a lofty goal, and, I want to be Miss America too. But I, I think that we just want to spread peace. And I trademarked the term sow peace, SOW peace, because that's our opportunity to sow peace. And in order to plant seeds, you have to have the seeds. And so maybe you're not going to make the whole world different, but you're going to make your world different. And that's what you can do. So it starts there and see how it spreads. We all know the thing about drop a pebble in the middle of a quiet pond, and the ripple effect is large. So be that pebble, start rippling it out. We don't have to diminish the possibilities by saying the goal is so large, world peace. We can say, oh, there could be peace in my environment, my emotional environment, my physical environment. And I really, I want to put a word in for one of our other shows too. If you got a lot of clutter, you're not going to have visual peace. Right? So put peace into your environment so that what you see reminds you of peace. But the possibility of peace begins with you sitting quietly. And that's a big deal.
And that's what we do here on this show. We plant the seeds for peace, for vibrant relationships, for getting to know oneself so that the outside world can shift. And I love the idea of having our outside world, having our world, influencing our world is a start, is the place we have to start. It's the place we have the most influence over. And at the, unless you're a world leader, you probably also have influence over greater, but let's influence our world leaders by our presence of peace.
Mm-hmm.
So I am totally inspired. I got to go meditate. Sit in quiet. I know that word meditate scares some people, so I'm going to go sit in quiet for 5 minutes. Like what?
Sit in silence for 5 minutes. And if you can't give yourself that, ask yourself why. What is it that could possibly be so scary or so unattainable that you're not willing to take 5 minutes out of your day for it?
In fact, why don't you do it right now? We're going to end in just a moment, and it's a perfect time if you get it. Or you want to try it. You want to get it.
Yes.
Take that 5 minutes right now. We won't take up another minute or two of your time. Because we will be back again in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Talking about another Transform Your Relationship topic. Any parting words, Mrs. Rhoberta?
Well, you always ask me that, Laura, and I think I'll turn the table and ask you, what are the parting words for today? I've done a lot of talking.
Take a breath. And that's it. Take a breath. And then take another breath. And then take another breath. And let's create peace. So
I think we're all going to take those breaths, but let's focus on them being peaceful, not hurried, not just because we have to stay alive, but conscious breaths. I'll just add that to it.
Maybe even slow them down.
Yeah. Just consciously say, just become present to your breath and spend that 5 minutes. Good things will happen.
Enjoy your breathing. Bye, everyone.
Bye.